And you have one more bill. You have the item 30. This is on transportation network companies.
Yes, so I'm here to present Assembly Bill 2763, which would put a definition in the code for a personal vehicle for partners of transportation network companies. And it would define a personal vehicle as any vehicle that is owned, leased, rented, or otherwise authorized for use to provide prearranged transportation services. The problem that this bill is designed to address is the wonderful proliferation of a lot of people making some extra money, supplementing their existing incomes by driving for a transportation network company. The prototypic or the classic example, of course, would be a teacher who works 9 or 10 months of the year, but then things get a little tight in the summer, and that teacher decides to rent a vehicle and drive for a TNC. Now, why is it necessary to rent a vehicle? It's often necessary to rent a vehicle because TNCs have very strict requirements for safety and for novelty when it comes to a vehicle. They require vehicles be new-ish and that they have certain features and that they are of a certain year. And so the best and easiest way for a lot of people who are perhaps of indigent means or might drive a classic automobile to meet those requirements is simply to rent a car from an enterprise or another car rental place and then use that to drive a TNC. But there is some question, both in the regulatory world and in the legal world, whether this is proper, and this bill would clarify that, that it is. This bill importantly preserves all existing inspection and safety requirements imposed by the California Public Utilities Commission, plus their ability to improve those safety requirements over time. It also does not apply a time limit to the concept of personal vehicle because artificial timeframes do not equate to safety. This will allow individuals, particularly those of low income or seasonally employed individuals, to partner with TNCs in flexible arrangements to earn some extra bucks for their family at a time when they need it. We've worked very closely with the Teamsters to adequately address and alleviate their concerns, and I'm pleased that it's my understanding they will be removing their opposition once it's amended after the next committee, and I respectfully ask for this committee's aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in favor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Timothy Burr, Senior Public Policy Manager for LIFT. We are here today to express our strong support for AB 2763 and thank the author, Mr. Gatto, for his leadership on this issue. At LIFT, our mission is to change transportation for the better by filling up the 80% of empty seats in the cars on the road and improving transit for riders and drivers. AB 2763 is an important step to help LIFT achieve this vision. By clarifying the definition of personal vehicle in the PUC code, this bill supports the expansion of clean transportation and the rapid acceleration in the adoption of electric and other clean vehicles needed to meet California's climate goals and air quality goals. The brisk growth of TNC driver and ridership presents an opportunity to electrify vehicle miles traveled faster than through purchases of EVs alone. Companies such as Evercar, who LIFT has partnered with in Los Angeles, are focused solely on making electric vehicles available to folks who want to participate in ride sharing. AB 2763 also provides those of modest means an opportunity to earn additional income. For those who do not own a car, can't afford a car, or perhaps their car doesn't qualify under the CPUC regulations, there should be an opportunity for those folks to utilize a rented or leased vehicle that meets California inspection and safety standards. Thank you for your consideration, and we urge your support of AB 2763.
Okay, next witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Robert Callahan with the Internet Association, also here in support. Most everything has already been said very well. I'll echo the comments of the previous witness and the author, and just mention that we believe widespread adoption of ride sharing will help the state of California achieve its economic, environmental, and transportation goals. We think this bill is a good step by providing clarity that will further all of those goals. So we urge your support. Thank you.
All right, other speakers, just your name, organization, and your support, please.
Sure, thank you. Andrea DeVoe for TechNet. Echo the comments of my colleagues in strong support of the bill.
Thank you.
Will Gonzalez on behalf of Uber in strong support.
Thank you. Other in support.
Damon Conklin on behalf of Electric Vehicle Charging Association in strong support.
John Ross on behalf of the Hertz Corporation in support.
John Moffitt on behalf of Enterprise Holdings in support.
Jeremy Mers on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce, also in support.
Andrew Antwi on behalf of General Motors in support.
Susan Matier, Lyft driver, in support. Robert Simon, fourth grade teacher, Uber and Lyft driver, in strong support.
Anthony Molina, California Manufacturers and Technology Association, in support.
Sam Mateer, Lyft driver and teacher, in strong support.
Steve Scott, Lyft driver, strong support.
Janice Valdez, a Lyft driver in Sacramento, in strong support. Thank you.
Larry Mackey, Lyft driver, strong support.
Keith Lagdon, Lyft driver, and I've saved over 4,000 cars being on the road in Sacramento in the last year. In support.
Greg Jefferson, full-time Lyft driver, in support.
Joshua Stark on behalf of Transform, in support. Thank you.
Chris Rosa on behalf of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, in support.
Thank you. Can we have opponents of the bill, please? Come forward. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Barry Korngold. I'm with the San Francisco Taxi Workers Alliance, and I've been a member, a participant in the rulemaking proceeding for this since its conception, and the whole premise behind the creation of TNCs and their wholesale exemption from laws and regulations and fees required of all of their competitors is that they're using their personal vehicles and supposedly taking vehicles off the roads, when the reality is they're adding vehicles exponentially to the roads by taking cars that would otherwise be parked most of the day. Now they're driving around being taxi cabs or providing taxi service or making money with their cars. Also, these companies like Breeze have popped up that rent exclusively for commercial purpose. And actually, the definition of a TNC is a car that is not sold primarily for a commercial purpose like a limousine. And so I'm pointing out how these are marketed primarily for the commercial purpose of working for Uber and Lyft. As far as helping low-income workers, this seems like it's more suited to help GM, Enterprise, and Hertz rather than the low-income workers who are already complaining they're not making enough. And what about all the low-income cab drivers that this is taking work from? People are renting second cars, so not only are they using their car when it would otherwise be parked, but drivers are renting a second car so they don't have to put wear and tear on their own car. And I know this from reading some of the comments on the Breeze ads. The TomTom, GPS developer TomTom is rates the traffic, has a traffic index where San Francisco is now the second most congested city. 3 years earlier, it was the 5th most congested city. The San Francisco Bay Area 2 years ago was not even listed on the 25 most polluted cities in the nation. We're now number 6 since TNCs have been allowed on the road. There has been no environmental impact report at all. San Francisco County Transportation Authority did a survey of traffic speeds from 2007 to 2015. They remained the same until 2013 when TNCs were let on the road, and it took average traffic speeds dropped 26% by 2015 because of all the traffic that we have now in San Francisco.
You exceeded your 2 minutes.
Okay, I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Paul Gillespie. I'm the manager of Yellow Cab Cooperative in San Francisco. I'm also the former president of the San Francisco Taxi Commission. After 37 years in California, it's my first day speaking in front of the Capitol, and I have to say, this morning at Energy and now at this committee, I'm impressed by the amount of work and thought that's going into addressing the most serious problem that's ever faced the human race, which is the buildup of greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere. When I was president of the Taxi Commission, I wrote the law that converted our fleet to hybrid vehicles, cut our emissions from 110,000 tons per year down to 40,000 tons per year. So there's some of us in the real world who are working to try to implement your vision. Once again, the transportation network companies are attempting to redefine the English language. In this attempt, now rental cars become personal vehicles. Just like when these companies first started, they used the term sharing economy, and I've heard it several times this afternoon. Of course, there's nothing being shared here. They're selling rides just like a taxi. This bill, I think, is an attempt to try to address the biggest problem that these companies have right now, which is the massive turnover of their drivers. I've heard it's up to 80% a year of people beginning of the year who are not driving at the end of the year, and it's because people realize they're trashing their personal vehicle for minimum wage, and they're lying to their insurance company, and they don't want to do it anymore. So this is an attempt by some very large corporations to get into this business. And it's not a good deal for drivers. 8 or 9 years ago, our economy was almost wrecked by subprime loans in the housing industry, and now we're faced with the prospect of subprime loans in the auto industry. And I don't have anywhere near the time to go into it now, but there's a lot of stories that have been written right now about people defaulting on these loans and how they're paying extraordinary sums of money for a vehicle that they could have got much cheaper with a normal loan.
Thank you, sir. Can you wrap it up, please?
It's being touted as supporting electric vehicles, and this, I think, is very cynical.
Wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. I'm just here to express my opposition to this bill, and thank you for support.
Okay, other speakers opposing? Please identify yourself and who you represent and your position, please.
Mark Ruberg, San Francisco cab driver for Green Cab and member of the board of the San Francisco Taxi Workers Alliance, strongly opposed.
Thank you. Other speakers? Yes, go ahead.
My name is Marcelo Fonseca. I've been a full-time taxi driver for almost 28 years in the city of San Francisco. I am serving my second term on the board of directors of Yellow Cab Co-op. I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you. Other speakers?
Peter Miller, taxi driver. I also have a degree in geography and natural resources management. This bill is just adding to the mockery of our economic and environmental goals in California. Economically,
Just identify yourself and your position. Thank you.
I am opposed to this bill.
Other people, please come forward. If you want to state your position, please.
I'm DSO, a San Francisco cab driver since 1975, a board of director of Yellow Cab, and I oppose this.
Thank you. Okay. Questions from the committee? Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Senator Bell. So I was wondering what a newish car was.
Well, the TNCs have requirements that I probably can't recite because I'm not familiar with all of them, but they have requirements in place that a car must be, for example, a model 2008 year or newer. And so what that does is it eliminates a lot of people who drive a car before that. And I've always been one of those people who drives used cars, and probably the beaters that I've driven over the years probably would not qualify for Uber or Lyft.
Very good. Well, I have a better question. So if I go and rent a car and I want to drive it for Lyft or Uber or any TNC, how does insurance work? If I go to rent that car and I don't have insurance, but I get insurance, I take the option at the rental car agency and I purchase their insurance. How does that work with liability?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe that these insurance contracts, if you stipulate that you are driving for Uber and Lyft, you do have to purchase the insurance that the rental car company offers. And then the other thing is, if you've got one of the commercial policies already that allow, or whatever the policies that we mandated a few years ago that allow you to drive your personal vehicle for them, then that would probably cover the rental vehicle that you cover as well.
So currently, Enterprise, any of these different rental car places are aware that someone might be driving for Uber and Lyft, and they will ask you specifically if you have insurance or don't have insurance?
I don't believe they ask you that as part of your stuff, but maybe we could call up one of the guys from the rental car companies. I see someone coming forward.
Thank you, that would be helpful.
More familiar with that than I am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, John Moffett for Enterprise. Part of the, for this particular product that we offer, which is not available at every branch, it's special branches, insurance is actually included.
I see. So that actually raises another good point. So if I am going to rent a car to drive for a TNC, I have to go to a specific Enterprise or other car rental place?
Correct.
And how would I find that, on the internet or?
Yeah, via Uber.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Assemblymember.
Okay. Any other questions? Senator Roth.
Before you leave, sir, what are the limits on the insurance that Enterprise offers?
You know, I apologize, I don't know. They're clearly at the state minimum and then still subject to all the TNC rules where the Uber placed insurance to meet the requirements of AB 2293 and what's in current state law. They're definitely at that, but I don't know if it's more than that. I apologize.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a motion on this bill. Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator, would you like to close?
I think what we're doing here is providing a much-needed source of extra income for those who need it, but those who don't necessarily have a car that meets the newish requirements, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, there's just to point out that this deals with one issue of the transportation network companies. Next week, we are hearing AB 650, which has a more comprehensive, is a bill of a more comprehensive nature on transportation network companies. So we might study that one very carefully. A lot of the questions I heard today relate to that particular piece of legislation. So you might want to study that closely, AB 650. Okay, we have a motion. We will call the roll, please.
Assembly Bill 2763, the motion is due pass and refer to the Committee on Energy, Utility, and Communication. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Bates? Gaines? Gaines, aye. Galgiani? Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski?
Okay. 7-0. Okay, thank you. 7-0, and we'll leave the roll open for other members to attend and vote. Thank you. Thank you. We will go to, let's see, who's here? Assemblyman Daley is here. 2584, Assemblymember, Land Use Housing Development Bill. You have the floor. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. And let me just say the League of California Cities has proposed language which they say will address some of their concerns. I agree with their proposed changes and will be amending my bill accordingly. There is a consensus among most Californians that counties and cities aren't allowing enough housing to keep up with our growing population and the demand for housing. That opinion is shared by the Legislative Analyst's Office and many others. This bill would help mitigate one potential barrier to the construction of more housing units by adding groups representing tenants and housing providers to the list of those who can enforce the Housing Accountability Act when a local government fails to comply with the law. For the last 30 years, the Housing Accountability Act has been a tool for ensuring that new housing is approved and constructed. Since its inception, 13 additional bills have been enacted to strengthen its provisions and add clarity. My bill is supported by the California Apartment Association and the Western Center on Law and Poverty, and it's another step to address the many barriers to building more housing in our state. With me today are two witnesses who will speak in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Sean Tepekian on behalf of the California Apartment Association. We are in support. I think, as we all know, California is facing an unprecedented housing crisis, and one of the main reasons for that is a lack of construction of both affordable and market rate housing. And one of those barriers, as the Assemblymember pointed, is NIMBYs, not in my backyard, groups that push back on housing. This bill will simply strengthen the Housing Accountability Act. This change is consistent with current housing element law. In fact, our bill is even narrower. Under housing element law, anybody can challenge a decision of the city. So with those reasons, we ask that you support the bill.
Thank you. Other witnesses?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Anya Lawler on behalf of the Western Center on Law and Poverty. We have long sought to expand the standing to bring challenges under the Housing Accountability Act. We believe that the standing should be similar to under housing element law. We frankly wish this bill was going that far, but we're very happy with the changes that are proposed here. We think the more eyes on local governments in terms of approving housing projects, the better, and we urge your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have other witnesses in favor, please? How about witnesses opposing this bill?
We're actually in support, sorry.
Oh, okay, I didn't see you because he was in the way, sorry.
Good afternoon, Yeli Gavrich with the California Association of Realtors. Apologize, we did not make the analysis, but we are in support.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Kendra Harris with the League of California Cities. We want to thank the author for taking our proposed amendments today, and we'll be removing our opposition when those amendments are adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. That removes opposition. We have a motion on this bill. Are there any questions from our committee on this? Assemblyman, would you like to make a closing statement?
I appreciate the comments by the League of Cities representative, and I respectfully request an aye vote.
Okay, thank you. We have, this is with the amendment that was made, and we will call the roll, please.
Assembly Bill 2584, the motion is due pass as amended. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Bates? Gaines? Galgiani? Gaines, aye. Galgiani, Leyva, McGuire, Leyva, aye. McGuire, Mendoza,
Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Roth,
Aye.
Roth, aye. Wachowski.
We have 6 votes, and we will leave it open for other members to vote.
Good. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you. We have item 28. We have Assemblywoman Lopez here, and this is 2685, and we'll turn the floor over to.
And as the member comes up, this has had no votes. It's supported by both sides and has no opposition. I would like to move the bill.
Okay, so we have a motion already. Assemblywoman, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, shared members. AB 2685 required a planning agency for a city and county to draft a housing element available to the public at least 30 days before they're submitted at Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, for approval. It also provides the public comments to the passing out the government body before the vote to approve the housing element. Public participation around housing issue has been a long-time issue in my district. I understand that the working groups and the housing department have been working several housing issues. One of them is to increase public participation, but the issue in the public participation is very important into my district, and that is why I bring this forward. Thank you, members, and respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Any questions? Can we have speakers in favor of this item? Speakers opposed, please. Anybody opposed? Okay, no speakers. We have a motion. Would you like to close?
Yes, respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. And we'll call the roll, please.
Assembly Bill 2685, the motion is due pass and refer to the Appropriations Committee. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Bates? Gaines?
Aye.
Gaines, aye. Galgiani? Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Mendoza? Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski.
6 votes in favor, and we'll leave the roll open for absent members.
Thank you.
Members, I think we're down to item 25, so we want to find, he's on his way. Item 25 is the last item. Well, I think we made good time today, and one of the reasons I think we made good time, it's time while we have a little break to congratulate my staff for all the fine work working with the authors to work out a lot of the issues and helping our members in the committee get the amendments we need to make these bills successful. And I'd like to congratulate the Senate Transportation Housing staff for working with us on those bills. So thank you very much. And we have a member has worked with my staff, Assemblymember Bloom. You have the floor. You have AB 2501.